government needs to stop controlling the EV market. The EV market is crashing, and people are about to see the biggest financial disaster in the history of cars till date. Do not buy an EV right now. Political leaders are controlling EV companies, leading to a massive loss that could destroy the middle class completely. They've kept a dark hidden truth so people keep buying EVs, but in this video, I'm going to expose everything. From EVs killing people to literal graveyards of thousands of EVs and people being fired due to the forced EV push, we have a lot to cover. This might change how you see EVs forever. Here's what exactly happened. The entire EV market is crashing. People are literally exchanging their EVs for gas cars, while EVs are dying in dealer lots. Over 1,000 car makers have pleaded that they never want to sell an EV. We've seen over 2,000 complaints due to issues like massive repair costs, sometimes going above $30,000 for a battery repair, huge monthly insurance payments exceeding $500 a month, and even some deadly fires and explosions, cases that I'll talk about later in this video. In 2024, you're going to see the biggest EV market crash, and there are some reasons why this crash could affect you more than you thought it would. So here's the deal. Ford, GM, Tesla, literally everyone is failing to sell EVs in good numbers. On average, used EVs have tanked in value by a whopping 33.7% since last October. That's an average price drop of $17,827 per car. And those Teslas, the poster child for EVs, are taking some of the biggest hits. We're talking about the Model X dropping by $21,775, and the Model S and Model 3 are not far behind. You might have already seen the viral clips of EV graveyards where thousands of EVs are just stashed and forgotten. Well, turns out the number of useless EVs we're going to have is only going to go up. EV prices are soon going to fall by 50%, and the government is trying its best to hide it from you. Now let's talk numbers, because they're just simply jaw-dropping. Ford, for example, is in such a bind that they're selling EVs at a loss of $36,000 each. Yes, you heard me right. The CEO, Jim Farley, basically came out and said, no more EVs until we figure out how to actually make money on them. Can you believe it? But Toyota's not just sitting back. They've got a new CEO, Koji Sato, who's been dipping his toes in the EV pool with the BZ series. But guess what? Even he's starting to see the light, questioning the whole ban on gas cars and advocating for a more inclusive approach to reducing emissions. In a few minutes, I'll also tell you how Tesla is the reason behind the collapse of the used EV market, crashing it entirely. But first, let's look at all the companies which got hit by the EV crash. EV prices are sky high, with the average sticker shock being around $65,000. I mean, who in their right mind is going to drop that kind of cash on a car that can barely make it 200 miles without needing a recharge? But wait, it gets better. The government, in a move that feels like something out of a dystopian novel, told car makers that they'd have to pay hefty fines if they didn't sell enough EVs. And Tesla, the king of the EV hill, has already slashed its prices not once, not twice, but thrice in a single quarter. But Tesla is also getting hurt by another reason which no one could have seen coming: China. The thing is, BYD, a major EV company in China, is currently crushing Tesla because their local government gives BYD good subsidies. And just recently, Elon Musk stated in an interview that BYD could go on to become #1 if things stayed this way. This statement alone caused Tesla's market evaluation to drop by nearly $80 billion in just 1 week. And to add fuel to the fire, we also got a thrashing report from the Consumer Reports Group telling how EVs are unsafe, with thousands of people having reliability issues with their EVs. Now here's one company that could literally close its doors due to this crash: General Motors. Yep, you heard that right. One of the biggest brands is now on the verge of collapse thanks to their CEO, Mary Barra. They already lost more than $750 million in weeks when Barra refused to pay fair wages to the workers, and then their EV sales have also been pretty devastating. Last month, GM couldn't even manage to sell 10% of what Tesla sells. But despite this, Mary Barra has refused to lower the prices on their EVs. When asked about when the public will get to see affordable EVs for under $30K, GM's CEO shockingly said, "EVs under $30K are not profitable, so we'll not make them." Out of all the brands, it seems like only the Japanese are doing the right thing right now. They have refused to make EVs, focusing on hybrids and alternative fuels instead. Akio Toyoda, the chairperson of Toyota Group, is saying rare earth minerals needed to make EVs are limited, and we might see shortages soon. The prices will continue to increase. Focus on simpler cars that appeal to everyone instead. Toyota's been sounding the alarm about a disaster in the making. He's saying the car industry's current model is on the verge of collapse, and the more EVs we pump out, the bigger the carbon dioxide headache. Toyota's been a vocal critic of the push for EVs, but its speaking out came with a price. He had to step down as CEO because he ruffled too many feathers with his love for gas-powered engines. But why did this get so bad? And why are car companies not able to make affordable EVs? This is mainly due to an export ban that was thrown upon us by China last week. But this also means companies will start making more gas cars again, and more on that later. Now I'm going to tell you how Tesla's sales are also hurting the used EV market. Prices for used electric vehicles are nosediving like never before. We're not just talking about a gentle slope here, it's more like a steep cliff. According to the salesman over at iccars.com, used EV prices have plummeted by nearly 30% in just a year. This is due to Tesla's jaw-dropping price cuts on their new models earlier this year. It's like they decided to have a fire sale and the used EV market just couldn't keep up. With Tesla slashing prices left and right, the value of their used cars took a nosedive. Even despite cheaper prices of used EVs, people aren't ready to buy an EV due to some of the horror stories I'm going to tell you about. For the people who have already purchased an EV, this crash is turning out to be an even bigger disaster. First off, let's talk about the charging crisis. Imagine buying a shiny new EV, thinking you're gonna zip around all eco-friendly like, doing your part, man. But then reality hits. Finding a charging station isn't a walk in the park, and when you do find one, it's like striking gold if it's actually working or not overcrowded. And then there's the issue of EV fires. EVs are literally exploding, killing several owners due to a new problem called thermal runaway that's causing EVs to catch fire while charging. Over 100 deaths have occurred already, while nearly 500 people reported EV fires where a loss of property and monetary damages were involved. If these problems aren't enough, what if I told you EVs might cause you to spend more money than you thought you'd save on gas? You'd think insuring an EV would be like every other car, right? Wrong. Insurance premiums for these electric beauties can be through the roof. Some owners have seen their rates triple. Imagine forking over something like $6,000 a year just to insure your ride. It's enough to make you want to park the car and just walk. And the repair bills? Get this. A man in Ohio was quoted a $50,000 sum just to replace the batteries in his car. Then there have been multiple cases where people are better off buying a gas car than to just repair their EV. So what's the deal here? Why are EVs turning out to be such a headache for some? It boils down to a few things. The tech is still new, and like all new tech, there are kinks to iron out. The infrastructure, especially for charging, hasn't caught up to the sales boom. And let's not forget, EVs are packed with sophisticated tech, which means sophisticated and expensive repairs. The kicker is, despite all these challenges, the push for EVs isn't slowing down. Governments and manufacturers are all aboard the electric train, choo-choo, but it feels like the passengers, aka the owners, aren't the ones dealing with the problems. Now the world is starting to go back to gas cars, and companies aren't listening to the politicians anymore. Even luxury car makers are on a quest to find alternative fuels. BMW has already launched a new hydrogen-powered SUV, while Porsche is already testing a fuel which helps cars run on water. And meanwhile, over in Japan, we're seeing companies experiment with ammonia engines that offer crazy good range up to 1,000 miles, but have some production issues that are being worked out. But one thing is for sure, relying only on one fuel is never a good idea. With China controlling over 80% of the global supply of EV materials, who knows if they will or won't completely disrupt the supply chains. It's high time that as consumers, we take action against the forced EV push and tell car makers not to listen to the government leaders, but instead to the actual public, you know, the ones buying their cars. What do you think? Are EVs a scam? Are we not ready for EVs? Let me know down in the comments below. I just uploaded a video about groundbreaking news that could hurt the entire EV industry. Do check it out if you want to be truly shocked by what's about to happen with EVs.